Hello, my name is Randy Dobson. I'm an instructor here in the Houston, Texas area, and this video will be covering AutoCAD the coordinates. For my students, I don't want you to stress too much about knowing coordinates. It's very easy to learn, but it brings back old memories for some, having to deal with the old algebra graphs as you see up here on the screen. But not to worry, I will try to make it as painless as possible. Uh, Understanding coordinates is the same as like longitude and latitude. If you're looking on a map of the world, longitude, latitude going left to right and up and down. If you remember your old algebra, you had your graph where right here in the center where they intersect is 0, 0. And whenever you do list a coordinate, it's always x, y, x being this way. I should have actually put that there. Let me just do that real quick, just to make sure we all keep everything straight. This is the y and this is the x. So if somebody, just like on this point right here, it's 6 4, so you go 6 on the x, 1 2 3 4 5 6, and then you go up 4, 1 2 3 4. They're both positive. With the graph, you've got four quadrants. That's where quad comes from, Spanish for four, cuatro. And here, both x and y are positive. Here, x is negative, y is positive. Here, they're both negative. And then here it switches, x is positive, y is negative. Because the y is going down, so it's got to be negative. Up here, the x is negative because it's going left of the origin, which is right here in the center. Now, when AutoCAD, and also just to remind you, as you see me moving around down here at the bottom, are the coordinates. Again, don't worry about that third one. That's Z. That's actually more for 3D. We'll get into that later on in the advanced course. But here, you really have three different ways of using coordinates. You've got absolute coordinates. You have relative coordinates. Uh, and there's polar, but I just want to stick with the first two. Now, again, I don't overcomplicate, don't overthink AutoCAD. If something says it's an absolute coordinate, then that's absolute. Every spot on the earth has an absolute coordinate. Okay, it is its own, it's never duplicated. A relative coordinate is just what the word says, it's related to another. So I put this point right up here. Okay, I'll start with this one right here, where x is negative 0.5, negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a positive 3 for the y. Now up here I put this point, the absolute would be using this graph, a negative 9 and then going up 5. But relative, it would actually be to this point, it's related, so this is like it's its new starting point. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, negative because I'm going to the left, 1, 2, positive going to the right. Now, the reason I want you to remember these is if you haven't yet, on the dynamic input, which is this right up here on the screen where the cursor goes on the screen, any coordinates you input up here, like if I go 5, see the 5 coming up, comma 5, that is relative. When you put them in down here at the bottom under the command line, they are absolute. Okay, so if I was to start a line command and I went from, I'm going to type in down here at the bottom 0 comma 0, and you notice, see, it's starting at the 0 comma 0, and I'm going to go, let's go 5 comma 5. Okay, so it's went up, here's 5 going this way and 5 going that way. Now, if by inputting it up here on this cursor, I'm going to type in 1 comma 1. And notice that's where it went. It went up here, where actually the absolute would have been way down here because that 1.1, it took me over. I'm sorry, 2 point. I'm not even sure what I did there. Let me try that again. Line from that endpoint to, yeah, 2 comma 1. Went over 2, and yeah, there it is. 1, 2, and then went up 1. Where down here, this would be the absolute 2 and 1. So by inputting it up here, when I say up here, I'm right up here where all this letter is going, this is your dynamic input. It will always be relative. When you're doing absolute coordinates, you input it down here at the bottom. Okay, that is a big thing. And again, if you look here, this absolute coordinate here is 1 to the right, x, which is positive, and 1 down. Here's negative 1. Here is an absolute coordinate, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go down negative 3, 1, 2, 3. That's the absolute. But if it was a relative coordinate, it would be 3, starting from this point, 1, 2, 3, and going down 1, 2. Again, don't stress too much over it. I just want you to understand how the coordinate system works. This is a nice little example right here. If you want to take a screenshot of it or whatever, it would be good to use. Now, besides using those coordinates, you can actually input also by angles and distances, what I have done right here. If I start a line and I come over here, and I go to this point, now if I want it to be, say, 5 units at 15 degrees, the correct way to do it would be 5 and then the less than key. That is the one your key that shares the comma, the less than, but you have to hit shift to get it, and watch what happens. It's going to lock that 5. Now it's asking for an angle, and I'm going to type in 15. So there I've drawn a line that is 5 units long and it's 15 degrees. Now, to understand AutoCAD, let me just do this real quick. This is 0 on AutoCAD, starting right here. Let me get this since I've already got some text. Bear with me here for a second. So this is 0. This is 90. This is 180. And this is 270. So if I was to draw a line from here to here, this angle in here would be, say 45. That could be like 85, 100, 150, 190, 200, 280, 300. So this is the positive way. Okay, that's a big thing to remember, that going this way is positive. So you don't have to put a number. If you wanted to rotate this way to the right, then you have to use a negative number. Okay. Understanding going this way is positive, going to the right is negative. So let's go back over here to this example. I did a line and I went to here, and then I went 5 units, 5, and I hit the less than. Now I'm going to hit a negative 15 and watch what happens. So should point downward. See? So it went 15 degrees this way, where 15 degrees positive was this way. Okay, and this will become very important as you learn commands like rotate. That this is the going to the left is positive, or counterclockwise as it's called, is actually positive. Now you've probably noticed that when I've drawn some of these lines that you can, I'm going to go 5 less than, shift less than, and well, actually let me take that back. Let me do this line, and you can see how I've got the tracking going, showing that that's 40 degrees. Okay, so it's 40 degrees, and I can just type in 5, and you may think, well, I've drawn this at 40 degrees. Well, you didn't do it exactly. By not inputting 45, you have it off a little bit, and I'm going to show you by giving you this angle. As you can see, it's off very slightly. I did the same thing down here, and I got 4476. So to do it exactly, you have to input, once you've drawn your line, when you're coming back, you have to hit 5, shift, and less than, and then say type in 60. Okay, now again, I'm going to do that again down here. I'm going to go line to right about there, and I'm going to go 5. Oops, I'm sorry. I'm gonna do it by eyeballing it to 60 right there, and I'm going to type in 5. And you may look at these and say, well, they look identical. Well, that's the thing about AutoCAD. Looking identical doesn't mean that it is. Let's just get the angles on these two. Here's the correct way, and here's the non-correct way. So as you can see, it's slightly off. Okay, so very, very big thing to remember. When you see your cursor, it will be set at 0, 0, but these are just to remember that whenever you're using dynamic input, that this is all relative commands. Down here in the command line, it is absolute commands. And that concludes my video on coordinates. Thank you.